chess, nonsense, and analysis. Hi, dear viewer. So here we are again. And, I just wanted to continue talking about fantastic players, special players, players who I really, really love. And I feel that, without proper justification, they are not really as famous as other grandmasters for one reason or the other. And one of the players who goes into the list of my favorite players is a certain gentleman by the name of Albin Planinc, Grandmaster. He was from Yugoslavia, formerly Yugoslavia, Slovenia, more accurately, like, the place he was born. And yeah, what is interesting is that he was a fantastic player. I mean, he played for Yugoslavia in a number of events, but his chess career was quite short. And anyway, there's a fantastic story how he gets introduced into international chess. Basically, he was working in 1969. He was working in a bicycle assembly factory, right? And he was then invited to one of the international tournaments that was happening he was in Ljubljana then. It was a Vidma memorial event. And so he plays in this event, and but he's playing in the event, but during the day he's working. He's working, and then possibly after when he is done, he goes to play in the event. The other players are professional. I mean, they are just playing that event. And he wins the event. He won the event ahead of world stars as Svetozar Gligoric and Wolfgang Unziker. But what is interesting story is that he was playing this event, and of course, as I mentioned, still going to work. And then the story goes that one of his bosses actually reads in the newspaper that Planinc is leading the tournament, and they are shocked. And he goes over to him and says, "Why didn't you tell us that you were playing this event? And we could have probably possibly given you time off." And and then of course after that they give him some time off, and he goes on and wins the event. Fantastic. Yeah, but I really love this guy's play. But as I mentioned, his stay at the as a chess professional was not that long, because unfortunately he had like a number of medical issues, and he was sort of suffering from a severe depression, and he didn't, I guess, get the right medication. Maybe in those days, you know, and so at some point he actually had to stop playing competitively, and he was a trainer for a number of years, and yeah, yeah, he passed away afterwards. But I mean, his life was not as smooth as all that. He had to spend a number of his 5 years he was spending in a institution, and this and that. So yeah, I think for me, whenever I hear his name, though, Albin Planinc, he warms my heart, and I think there's no better memory we can really, or rather a thank you that we can give him as the chess public, rather than to keep his games alive. Hence I'm broadcasting this game. Anyway, this game he played against in 1970. He played against Ulf Andersson. Ulf, we all know, brilliant player, brilliant defender, and one of the top players in the world. And let's have a look at how the game goes. He plays with the white pieces. Planinc plays with the white pieces. So it's a Sicilian, and Wolf plays e6, knight b5, This variation is still topical today. D6 is played, bishop c5, bishop b4, all these moves are playable. Wolf played bishop b4, a3, yeah, takes on c3. Yeah, in today's world, even moves like bishop f4, very sharp, are played. But okay, a3, this is still completely normal. I mean, I remember I had a position like this recently in the Cape Town, in the Cape Gambit tournament, and I played against Banele Mango, and I played here bishop d3. So yeah, this is completely playable still. He took, plays bishop d3, castles. This is still theory. Bishop g4, f3, and bishop e6. Yeah, so from a theoretical point of view, because of course, after a game is played, we do analyze. It was found out that bishop h5 was possibly more accurate to put the bishop on g6 and to defend on the king side. It looks fairly safe. Black's king side looks fairly safe, like nothing's going to happen, but actually it is dangerous. So plays bishop g5, rook e8, queen d2, connects his pieces, can bring the rook to the center, and plays d4. Yeah, d4 is actually an interesting move. It's typical in these positions because if white plays knight e4 here, black is able to exchange more pieces by playing knight takes e4, because you cannot play bishop takes d8 because of knight takes d2, right? So we'd exchange pieces. Hence, Planinc plays 92. So if Andersson plays a6, plays knight g3, look, he's bringing the pieces now to the king side. Possibly one idea is knight h5. So hence Wolf plays knight e5 to put his knight to d7 to strengthen the knight, because it's under a pin, right? Knight h5, knight d7, rook e1, and rook c8. And after rook c8, we can see that maybe black could play moves like rook c5 to defend, because this rook lift would bring another black piece to defend on the king side. And I have a look at the game, at the move that the Planinc plays. He was such a creative player. He plays here rook e5. What a move. It's a brilliant move. He's basically stopping rook c5. And yeah, the rook can just sit there. It can't be touched. And he's going to put the other rook, because if knight takes e5 is played, we can play bishop takes f6. And now if you play g takes f6, queen h6 would settle immediately, because queen g7 checkmate. Very imaginative chess, rook e5. And so Andersson decides to sort of ignore. But now he plays rook e1. And after king h8, we see now his actual intention with bishop h4. It's going to lift the rooks. I mean, rook g5 is coming. You have to calculate now. I mean, I could even, in some positions, capture on g7 and just bring more pieces into the attack. It's getting very dangerous. He plays queen f8, getting out of the pin, knight takes f6, and now, of course, rook h5. Now, more of white's pieces are joining into the attack on the king side. Rook takes h7 check is the threat. Of course, f5, queen goes to f4. Now, okay, the pawn on d4 is hanging. Queen g7, rook g5, and queen f8. If you played queen f6, possibly queen h4 could be dangerous as well, right? Because I make more patterns. I'm threatening rook g8 check and take the queen. And it becomes more difficult. How do you defend the pawn on d4? Because you cannot, the queen on f6 is hanging and you cannot really do much about it. And hence the pawn on d4 would fall. So it decides to play queen f8 here, queen takes d4 check, rook h5. Yeah, unfortunately the attack has been too much, and Andersson wasn't able to defend. So he goes into a winning endgame. Of course, bishop f1 is a brilliant move, because we're going to block the rook on the on the king side, making sure the rook doesn't come out, and Andersson resigned here. A very, very nice game by Albin Planinc. And if you've never, really studied this player, please do. There are many beautiful games he plays. There's a game he plays as black against Lubojevic, a game he plays against Matulovic, and a number of games. But these games, I'm the ones that I'm just thinking about because in terms of how spectacular they are, And he was very creative and certainly a player that is worth celebrating for his creativity. So yeah, we were very unlucky that he didn't spend more time playing chess. We never got to see more of a career from him. It was very short, but nonetheless, it did leave us with a lot of beautiful games. Yeah, so yeah, please comment, dear viewer. Maybe you can give us some links to other Planets games and or other stories if you know them. And yeah, so please do share, like, subscribe if you haven't. And yeah, till next time and discussing another one of our best players and such, I will say checkmate.